Hey everyone, this is Cowmageddon. It is a poem that I wrote for an English project and I felt like sharing it. So here it is. Their bodies were dead, above my head. The blood dripping down drastically wore my sanity thin. Before their time, I love you, they said. In this moment, looking in its eyes, my hatred will begin. It started on a calm summer's day, on a farm where my family has always been. The cows were acting in a strange way. My 8-year-old self even saw one of them grin. Over the hill was a great sound, that the birds on top of the barn quickly flew. And suddenly the cows were in a bizarre state. It was then I realized the great sound was a moo. I ran outside the barn doors ferociously to see, but I stood still, silently, like a sloth, in a stun. I felt breath on my neck, and then I looked behind me. It was a black cow standing up like Goliath, and he said, "Run." My mind said go, but my feet were stone. Thoughts thundered through my head. Then I heard a thump. The cow turned around because the sound was unknown. I ran past him, and the sight of my house made me jump. Cows encircled the front door, trying to break it. I snuck in the back door to see my family inside. Dad had a gun. Mom grabbed me and said, "You're going to make it." She put me under the floorboard where my sister and I were to hide. The door breaks, and my parents are surrounded. It was like being under a David and the Lion's Den studio set. But my parents were not saved. Instead, they were pounded. As they hit the floor, I knew their demise was finally met. I saw it all through the floorboard cracks and I cried. The black cow I saw before I walked where their bodies lie. My blood boiled looking at him and knowing my parents died. Our eyes met and I said, "I will kill you," while looking in his eye. The great moo I heard before sounded again, and the cows ran out like their lives were at stake. My sister and I came outside, and all that was left was some hen. I told my 6-year-old sister, letting me live was their biggest mistake. We had an old ham radio where we heard the news. The cows swarmed like flies attacking major cities. The army tried defending, but they would eventually lose. Our farm was near a forest where we would live in the trees. Now I am older, I am stronger, and I will not wait any longer. My goal has never strayed from its vector, but today I become more than my sister's protector. With the weapons I have acquired over the years, and with the pain carried from my sister's tears, I will avenge my parents and take back this land. 'Cause for so long I waited, but now I stand. I discovered the den of the deadly race. With the faith of Noah, I left in the night's embrace. My 16-year-old sister was sleeping like a baby. I thought to myself, I will never see her again, maybe. I kissed her forehead and jumped down our treehouse. The night was calm and silent as a mouse. I had eagle eyes and my prey was in sight, but I knew this battle will need all my might. My doubts were vultures hovering above me, but the longing for bloodshed was much too lovely. I walked and walked through the forest I called home, saying goodbye to the place my sister and I roam. In my life I had no wife. In its place I had a knife, and it has held me through my strife. I kept it close like a bow strapped on my back. In my travel there was only one thing that I lack: compassion. Packed only by the pathetic, my agony has formed me to be apathetic. If my choices are failing or dying, I choose neither. I will not stop until I have the head of their leader. Yearning for the end of my journey, my thoughts were turning. But for the sake of humanity, I kept my passion burning. I made my way up a hill with the strength of a bison, and I could see the sun rising over the horizon. I have been trying my best, but now I must rest. I will have my victory before the sun sets in the west. I needed to eat before I stood back on my feet. By the end of today, I will be feasting on cow meat. I got up and looked down the hill. My eyes tried to hold back the thrill. I was looking at their den, once ran by man. I was looking at the barn, where it all began. My fists are clenched and my eyes have a fire. I will take my vengeance, I am no liar. My passion sings louder than the chamber choir. I will kill these heifers with my situation dire. There was no turning back now. This is what I choose. I ran down the hill as if I had on Hermes' shoes. The guardian cows of the barn let out their moos. My intent was revealed to them. There was no ruse. I reached the base of the hill and grabbed my bow. And as I waited, the cows just began to flow. Out of the barn, high and low, even from down below, out of the ground came the deadliest of foe. A skeleton cow, and its aim was toward me. Before it arose, I shot my bow, killing a good 3. The cows stood in a line as the skeleton cow broke free. I drew my short sword strapped by my knee. I got up to see. The cow on 2 legs was charging, the battle about to begin. I ran towards it with no doubt I will win. It swung its arm, but I jumped over it and cut its shin. It shattered. The cow was big, but its bones were thin. It was daunting, but strength it did lack. As it stumbled, with a whack I sliced its spine in its back. With their ally down, the cow's anger did stack, and in a rage they charged and began to attack. I had my knife on my left hand, and on my right was my blade. I fought them off where their comrade's body laid. One by one, cow after cow are being slayed. Their fury began to fade with the mountain of dead cows I have made. Suddenly, they made a circle round me and stayed in a place. They opened up, and in this case, their circle was now shaped as a vase. Entering the opening was a cow with a distinguishable face. It was the black cow I locked eyes with 10 years ago, and he was holding a mace. He started walking towards me, swinging the mace above his head. He licked his lips as if he was ready to be fed. This cow is walking to where it will find its deathbed, because I said, I will be the one to make this cow dead. He swung, I dodged, I struck, he deflected, my adrenaline filled, the mace swinging again with the strength he was trying to build. He missed, I pulled its chain, he fell forward, and I was thrilled. I jumped and stabbed its head, being satisfied with what I just killed. The cows mooed a mournful moo with their generals passing. I opened the door, knowing the pain this cow was going to bring. If the worst happens, and I meet my demise, I won't feel a thing. As the cows continued to sing, I was face to face with the Cow King. He spoke to me and said, "Your resistance ends here." I looked him in his eyes and said, "Let me make this clear. Your race took away my happiness, but also took my fear. The day my parents died was the day I shed my last tear." He roared and said, "I'll kill you." And I said, "Be my guest." He ran at me, and I shot my bow at his chest. But the muscle he had made the arrows look like pests. I shot my hardest, and he flinched at my best. He rammed his head into my torso and lifted me into the air. A scar on the back of his neck was what I noticed up there. I crashed down to the ground, and as I got up he gave a glare. I threw my knife at his genitals, no longer playing fair. He knelt in great pain, but quickly got back up with a yell. I leaped and stabbed his belly, saying, "You're about to enter hell." I sliced down and pulled out. His insides had an awful smell. And after a gasp of breath, the giant cow fell. I started to walk to the throne where all could see my victory. I dropped my sword in the awe of this moment of history. I heard a moo and started to worry. This is not the end of my story. I turned back around to see the Cow King before me. He held me up and squeezed with my body already in a wreck. I tried to hit him, but my attempts were tiny birds' peck. I thought, in this universe, I'm merely a speck. My mission failed, but then an arrow went through his neck. Goliath had been slain, but the victory was not mine. I looked up to see a figure by the doors with a shine. The figure came close, and the image was divine. The David of this tale was none other than my sister, Caroline. I first felt anger, but realized she was my savior. She said, "I followed you in case you got in danger." With my mysterious absence, I could not blame her. While protecting her, in a way, I trained her. We took the head of the king, which was very wide. Standing side by side, we made our way outside. Seeing the head of their king, the cows went to hide. The crowd of cows soon began to subside. Without their king, the cows around the world shortly began to be tamed. My sister and I took off to the forest before receiving any fame. I simply did this for my parents, and Caroline did the same. I said, "I love you, Mom and Dad," and I could hear them say, "We love you too, James."